So there you have it, folks. My Licorice is alive with a blues composition called Mamba Out, which I wrote and just performed. Of course, Mamba Out is a short musical goodbye to that prince of our city, the late, great Kobe Bryant. Damn, I miss you, bro. Thanks for the memories. Boy, we could use you now. Welcome, friends, subscribers, and countrymen, to a fresh installment of Rebel Without Applause, coming to you, as I always do, from my nutshell of infinite space. This, my television studio apartment right here in the Wood of the Holly, under the sign, overlooking the post-apocalyptic, virus-addled, protest-scarred, enchanted land of my law. Anyway, here we are at the dawn of a new world disorder, and if there's one thing I feel now more than ever, it is common cause with my African-American brothers and sisters because, folks, in an ever-expanding, socially distant universe nearly devoid of matter, Black lives matter now more than ever, and if they don't, well, let's be honest, nothing matters. Maybe finally, after so many centuries, white folk are realizing that but for a flip of a few microscopic DNA strands, all of us would be black. As a matter of fact, and I'm very proud to share this, all of my original ancestors came from Africa. And by that, I mean not just all my ancestors, but all of your ancestors came from Africa too. More specifically, all of our ancestors came from pretty much the same neighborhood. And the neighborhood I'm talking about is known as the Olduvai Gorge, up there in what is today a lonely, godforsaken place called the Rift Valley. But back in the day, the Olduvai was a pretty cool hang. Some folks even think the Olduvai might be the original Garden of Eden. But like the song says, it ain't necessarily so. The things that you're liable to read in the Bible, I just wouldn't take it literally. But what we do know is that some years ago, two mom and pop anthropologists by the name of Leakey found a fragment of this ancestor's jawbone down in that gorge and named him Australopithecus. Now, why the Leakeys chose the name Australopithecus, I have no idea, because the Rift Valley, firstly, is nowhere near Australia. As a matter of fact, the Rift Valley is in Tanzania, but I guess Mom and Pop Leakey had their reasons. To me, Australopithecus sounds like a drunk Roman senator from A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. I close my eyes and I can see the credit. Zero Mostel as Australopithecus. Anyway, it turns out we can trace all of our DNA to this long-forgotten cave dude, which makes him yours and my great-great-great-grandfather to the 10th power or so. And if we follow the Homo sapien fossil record, which is admittedly scant, it turns out that over time, and by time I'm talking about tens of thousands of years, some of Australopithecus' descendants had enough of life in the Rift Valley in Tanzania and left, which personally I can relate to because I grew up in the San Fernando Valley in a small gorge called Tarzana, and I left there too. Now I live in Hollywood, but you folks, by that I mean my loyal listeners already know that. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, not Tarzana in the San Fernando Valley, but the Rift Valley in Tanzania. Anyway, some of the descendants of Australopithecus left their valley for greener pastures, and over time, they migrated to every corner of the globe, and when the glaciers in the northern latitudes receded during the end of one of those ice ages that they used to have back in the day, the descendants of that drunk Roman senator, by that I mean Australopithecus, ventured northward into an undiscovered and uninhabited continent called White People Land, where somehow, for some reason, the pigment of their skin faded from black to white. We don't know if it happened all at once or gradually over time, but it happened. And why, I have no idea. I'll refer that question to the scientists. Anyway, super long story, really, really short. Those newly turned white people eventually named their continent Europa, which generations later they would subdivide into countries like France, Germany, Italy, and Spain, and England. During this interval of time, these same folk learned about agriculture and religion and metallurgy and gunpowder. And with that, these white folk all got busy conquering and killing and enslaving all their dark-skinned cousins, many of whom were still back living in the old country. By that I mean Africa, which leads us to the present moment. Or maybe it doesn't, but whatever. The present moment is where we are, and I'm trying to navigate it. So, last week I went to a Black Lives Matter protest in Hollywood, and this week, as I was on my way out to surf, I went to a white guilt pep rally in Malibu. The crowd in Hollywood was very mixed, a happy melange of all colors and ethnicities, but the crowd in Malibu, with just a few exceptions, was almost all white. The folks in Malibu were marching and holding signs and screaming at the top of their lungs all the right slogans. And like so many choir members to their preachers, the other white folk who were passing by in their Mercedes and BMWs were honking in support. It was a joyous affair. There was so much guilt in the air, it brought tears to my eyes. Never in my life was I so proud to be so ashamed. It was almost a spiritual experience. Anyway, as I was screaming my guilty heart out, I bumped into one of the few black folks at the White Guilt Pep Rally. He was an old friend from my stand-up comedy days, and his name was Frank. Yes, folks, truth be told, I do have some real black friends, and as a side note, black Facebook friends won't get you brownie points when you pass through the pearly gates. Only real, verifiable black friends will be credited when the big judgment day comes, just so you know. Now, since my high school was completely white, most of my first real black friends were affirmative action bros from my college days. Years later, I befriended black comedians that I worked with, and years after that, I befriended black jazz musicians that I play with in Leimert Park at the World Stage, which, when the virus subsides, folks, you gotta check out our Thursday night jazz jam for sure. The coolest hanging, let me tell you. Anyway, from across the street, I spotted Frank. Now, Frank used to dress in a kind of straight-ahead corporate sort of way, but now Frank was sporting a multicolored dashiki. He looked very cool, very African, and in a very self-satisfied way, kind of, happy. So I approached him. "Hey, Frank," I said, I have a question for you. But before I could ask, he interrupted me. "Please, Bill, don't call me Frank." "Why?" "Well, I just changed my name to Farouk Abdul Rashik." "Farouk what?" "Farouk Abdul Rashik." "Why? What was the matter with Frank? What, are you trying to get yourself on a TSA watch list or something?" Frank gave me a look. Farouk was an Egyptian king back in the day. "Oh, okay, cool," I said. "Your canvas, bro. You paint on it. Besides, just now looking at you, I think Farouk suits you. I always thought there was, frankly, something." I didn't mean your name, frankly. What I meant to say is I always thought there was something very royal about you. Anyway, with my white privilege weighing me down like a radioactive anchor in my soul, I finally got to my question. "Frank, no, I mean Farouk, what do I owe you?" "Huh? What do you mean?" I said, "Reparations. Name a figure." He looked at me hard. "You mean it?" Yeah, I mean it. I do. I really do." Farouk smiled and said, "Man, I appreciate the gesture, but not necessary. No, man, I'm not bullshitting. The bill is way overdue. I mean it." He looked me over again. "Really?" Yeah, really. With that, Farouk opened the calculator app on his phone. And at that moment, I had forgotten he had worked many years as a certified public accountant. And then he started tapping away on his calculator app. Let's see. First, we got the kidnapping from Africa. Then there's the Middle Passage. Tap, 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 tap. And after that, we have 400 years of slavery. Hold on. Wait a minute, I interjected. I'm Jewish, okay? My people, we didn't own slaves. But your people auctioned them. He had me there. Okay, all right, maybe we did a few times. Honestly, I don't really know. And he said your people invested in them, marketed them, advertised them, leased them, insured them, cross-collateralized them, securitized them, mortgaged them, amortized them, and depreciated them. We did, I asked? Yeah, you and everybody. The whole of the American economy was wrapped up in slavery from the auction block to the plantations to Wall Street. Then he continued tapping away on that calculator app, plus another 100 years of Jim Crow. And, I've got to add in all the lynchings and the terrorism by the Klan. Hold it, I said. None of my people were in the Klan, ever. That much I am sure of. Okay, he said. I'll take off for that. And he continued with his figuring. Let's see, there's the non-prosecuted police murders, and throw in the shitty schools and substandard housing, non-existent health care, redlining, restrictive covenants. Oh my God, now I was desperate. But Frank, I said, I mean Farouk, my people were slaves too, way back in Egypt. Come on, man, we built the pyramids and we never got a cent for it. Give me a break, some kind of discount, please. Farouk, gave me a look that wasn't at all friendly. And then he said, yeah, well, you got the 10 Commandments for your troubles from Moses, and you got a cool holiday for it. What's the name of it? Passover, I said. Oh, geez, now I was stuck between Malibu and a hard place. And then it hit me. I had an ace in the hole. But wait, Farouk, I'm sorry, Frank. Farouk. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention this, but I campaigned for Obama in 2008 and in 2012. I worked my white ass off for Barack. And for the first time I could catch just a bare little glint of sympathy in his eyes. You campaigned for Obama? Yeah. I canvassed. I walked door to door in black communities in Las Vegas. I phone banked. Come on, Farouk, work with me, please. Well, okay. That counts for something. I'll take off 10%. Thanks, Farouk. I appreciate it. Finally, Frank, Farouk finished with the counting and said he'd email me the bill. I accept PayPal or Venmo, whatever's more convenient. Okay. I'll get it to you. With that, Farouk smiled and gave me a Co-19 elbow bump and walked away. And I just stood there, took a deep breath of that sea-scrubbed Malibu air, and then, as if by magic, an almost inexplicable wave of relief came over me. There was, how can I say it, an incredible, almost unbearable lightness in my being. I was free. Till next time, folks. Namaste, shalom, and aloha. Namashaloha.